Good afternoon, everyone. How are you?
We know, Don.
Fine. How you done?
Good.
Oh, I guess I'll show my ugly face.
Glad to have you guys here. How did your shoot go yesterday, Steph?
You're muted, Stephanie.
I don't know if she's muted. I don't see any mute buttons here. Uh-oh. I don't see any mute buttons on Steph's
Oh,
or on Chris. Huh. And then we lost her.
I think she's retrying.
Yeah.
Is my guess. I don't know.
All right. All good.
What?
Oh, boy. There she's back. Now she's got a mute button.
Can you hear me now?
We can indeed.
Oh, good. No, it went really good. I was discouraged, of course, yesterday, but that's usually the way it goes is I get there, then I'm discouraged, but then I look at the photos and find a few that I like and feel better again. So,
Did you get some good shots?
yeah, there's a few. Not a whole lot, but there's a few. And the one that he wants of the playa, you know, the Wilcox Playa dry lake bed?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so Boeing, their Starliner that they're working on, one of the alternate landing sites is going to be in the Wilcox Playa. So they're working with the power company who actually has a road, has access to it. So they're going to do a contract with them. So Jeff knows the Boeing guys and he's talking to them, and he wants pictures of the playa to put in their newsletter, you know, to tell everybody in the company about it. So we were there at high noon and it looked
That's
terrible.
a great time to shoot a dry lake bed in Arizona. Noon.
Yeah. The mirage was kind of cool, but other than that. So anyways, I told him this Saturday we should have some clouds maybe. So I told him it's like 15 minutes from my house. I'm going to drive back out there on my time and get a nice photo with some cloud.
Wouldn't this be a perfect shot for a drone?
And he had the drone out there. So he did get drone footage.
No, I don't mean at noon, but I mean like maybe really early in the morning.
Well,
You have a drone, right?
No, I don't have a drone.
Oh, I thought you did. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you did.
No, Bob's the one that he hires to come do all the drone work. So he did get photos yesterday with the drone. But
Okay.
I'm going to see if I can get a pretty landscape shot Saturday evening, and then he can use that instead.
It'd be pretty interesting to see right at dawn kind of thing.
Yeah.
The sun going across it. I've never been there. Is it north or south of Wilcox?
Southwest of Wilcox.
Wilcox, Arizona, by the way, for those of you who do not know, is the fashion capital of the Southwest. Absolutely. It's the Rodeo Drive of Southern California.
A long
in
drive.
Arizona, but anyway, yeah. Carmen's booking her passage right now. She's such a fashionista. She's heading over right now to visit Wilcox. And
they're not letting us fly into the U.S. is not letting me in, so I'll have to pass right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We've decided to keep all the misery to ourselves here. I just read an article today that the super brilliant scientists at the CDC have determined that most people who die of heat-related injuries do so in the deserts of the Southwest, Texas, and California. I found this to be absolute. I thought all along, I was thinking New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and parts of North Dakota, but I was wrong. Obviously, it's, since it's 117 degrees outside in shade. Whenever you see the temperatures from Arizona, by the way, and Phoenix, those temperatures are taken in the shade from 20 feet off the ground. They're not standing outside in the sun. Add a good 12 to that for standing in the sun. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about, by the way, our friend Sid is not here today. He's actually out on a gig. So we're thrilled that he's doing that gig instead of joining us here. He tried to move it around, but apparently didn't happen. I totally get that. Sid, if you're watching this, we miss you, buddy, and good luck on the shoot. I know that some of you are Facebook buddies with me, and you've seen the post I did where a young lady who is a food stylist in Chicago, a working food stylist, a competent working, makes a living at it food stylist, wants to be a photographer because the ups and downs of food styling are just too much. Now, I did warn her that I'm not sure the ups and downs of commercial photography are all that better. There's still ups and downs, but she wants to add it rather than change it. And I think that's brilliant on her part. Add the photography to the food styling and have two channels. So I sent her a note, and I know a lot of you saw it, giving her a kind of a crash course on how to find clients. But the thing that is hard to talk about, and the thing that makes it difficult, I think, for us to have this discussion without photographs in front of us, is the idea of what's going to work in a portfolio. And I think I'm here to tell you that what works in a portfolio is work that is above exceptional. And I wrote an article. I think Steph linked to it. Steph, is that an article or a YouTube video?
It was the article from last year that you did on that.
From last year, yep. I did a YouTube video on it as well. And I call it the hierarchy of impact. And impact is what we want to do with our photography. Well, with our lives, with anything, we want to have impact. And I started looking at pictures and photographers and artists and musicians who've had impact, and kind of what do they have in common. And then I built a pyramid. And I'll share that pyramid with you here. We'll probably be looking at the pyramid for a while. Here is the pyramid. I created this because this is how I kind of see it. I see it as an hierarchy. I see it as something that we can measure our work. And the way to find out how we fit in this is to ask ourselves a question before we shoot. Ask ourselves some questions. One of the questions that I know that my Project 52 people hear me talk a lot about is this something, am I going to show somebody something they've never seen before? Or am I going to show them something they have seen before in a way they haven't seen it before? Because if you're not doing one of those two, then my question is, what are you doing? Now, if you're shooting a commercial job, you're shooting a pair of shoes and the client wants every part of the shoes to show, you may find yourself doing a shoot that a lot of people can do. And we're not talking about those pictures. We're talking about the stuff that goes in your portfolio. Not the stuff that people tell you should go in your portfolio, but the stuff that you decide to put in your portfolio. The stuff you love to shoot, the stuff you want to do. That's what goes in. So at the bottom, we have crap that everyone does. And when I say everyone, I mean anyone. So the question that you ask when you pull your camera up, if you want to make sure you're not in the lower group, and that's a really big group, it's probably not represented accurately here. It's by far the biggest group. It's the crap everyone does. If you bring that camera up to your eye, ask yourself this question. Could anyone take this photograph? Anyone. Everyone. So if your neighbor next door just got a really nice Rebel for Christmas and a good kit lens, and he's standing right next to you, is your neighbor from next door, who's never taken more than 1,000 photographs in his life, taking the same photograph you are? Because if he is, you need to move on. It's not your shot. It's crap everyone does. If everyone can do it, then anyone can do it. And if anyone can do it, then it's not going to be you. Bottom line. The next question is stuff only some can do. Now, here's where we start thinking about other photographers. You've got the camera up to your eye, and then you start to think, well, this shot looks like so-and-so's. This shot reminds me of this person. Does it remind you of them, or is it just like theirs? Because the stuff only some people do is only slightly more interesting than the crap everyone does. That's the bottom line on everything that we do, is these two areas will kill our portfolio. If it's just run a day work, and I've seen it, and I've been doing Project 52 long enough that we have photographers in Project 52 who occasionally turn in these two levels, right? You all seen it. You all seen it on the critiques, and we critique it fairly and accurately as best we can. But bottom line is, there's a lot of stuff that anyone can do. I remember a member, and we chastised him, and he probably knows she knows I'm talking about her on this. We had a member. The assignment was a sports ball of some sort. Sports ball had to be a really killer image. Well, she waited the last minute. She took a baseball, just dropped it on the ground on the grass in front of her house and took a picture of it. That is never going to move the needle on your portfolio. It's never going to be something that someone else wants to see, because anybody can do that, literally. And if it's stuff only some people do, maybe they do it and they put a flash on their camera. They moved up that one level of production quality. Doesn't matter. It doesn't count. We have to do something beyond that. Now we get to the next two, which are smaller categories. That's the stuff that's harder to do, and the stuff some people occasionally do. So the stuff that's harder to do, that's where I start talking about production values. And I think I mentioned in the article that Stephanie linked on Facebook, I think I mentioned the article, the photographer who had his buddy with him was a surfer. And his buddy was, quintessential surfer. You couldn't have gone to Central Casting and got a guy who looked more like a surfer than this guy. Just had it. The shorts, the hair, the whole bit. And a beautiful board. And so they got out of the truck at this sunset in California. They hiked down to the beach, and he took a photograph of his friend. Natural light. It turned out to be underexposed. No color in the board. Must have looked good on the back of the card. He tried to fix it in Lightroom and the whole bit. And I said, oh, this is why I always carry my light gear with me. And he said, oh, I had it. I just didn't want to go back up the hill to get it. Okay. Then what you did was you shot stuff only some people do when you had a chance to do something only people occasionally do. It's really hard, especially for those of us who live where more people die in the desert than do in the deserts of New Hampshire or Vermont, for that matter, or Maine. The Maine deserts, nobody dies in the Maine desert. It's just incredible. But anyway, those of us, it's really hard sometimes when it's really hot outside to make yourself hike back up to the car and grab 2 C-stands and go on down, and then hike back up to the car to get the bag of umbrellas and everything else to go back down and make the shot. It's hard to do that. But your challenge is, do you want to be here or do you want to be here? Because anything from here up is portfolio work. These two are not. They're not portfolio work. If it's just stuff that anybody can do. If it's it's like on my motorcycle trips, which I talk about probably way too much, but on my motorcycle trips, I'll stop on the side of the road. And on a motorcycle, I'm very limited to the stops on the side of the road I can do, because in a car, you can pull on a, you know, if you've got the road here and you got a curb that goes off like that, you can pull off on that in a car. You can't pull off on a motorcycle, because when you set the motorcycle, the kickstand's on this side, and guess what? It doesn't lean this way. In fact, on my last trip, I tried doing this. I was on one that was just slightly right. And then as I got off the bike, the damn bike fell over. I had to flag somebody down to help me pick it up, because it fell over downhill. I can pick it up if it's on level ground. Going downhill, wasn't happening. So you can't do it. So I'm limited to places where, guess what? Everybody else stops there too. It's like going to Zabriskie Point in March and April. Mike Thompson, I'm sure you're familiar with Zabriskie Point.
No,
In
where's that?
Death Valley, the famous photograph, Ansel Adams photograph. It's a
No.
desert photo. It's really, really famous. How about this? The arches, the arch, the famous
Ugh.
arch.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we all know the famous arch. Go there. There are literally thousands of people some days of the year. And you get to the arch, if you're there just when the sun comes up, you may not even get close enough to the arch to take a photograph till 10 o'clock. There's that many people there. Another one of our favorites, Stephanie will smile on this one. Another one of our favorites is the Big Bend turn on the Colorado River. Now, here's the thing about that horseshoe bend on the Colorado River. Here's the thing. There's only one spot you can shoot it from, because the rest of it you're not allowed to go climbing on. So you got about 800 feet wide, or if that much, 800 feet distance to make that shot. You're going to shoot a little bit from this side or a little bit from that side. That's it. You're done. Can't fly a drone. No drones are allowed. So, you know, so there's only, I think at last count, 11 trillion shots taken from that spot. We may think that the world needs another one. We may be wrong.
Or the slot
Unless-
canyons.
Unless what? Unless we're up here and you happen to be there on a day when there's a thunderstorm happening right across the way. So you've got the clouds coming up over the point, you've got the lightning coming down. You just got stuff that's harder to do because it doesn't happen often, and stuff that people occasionally do because it doesn't happen very often, and it has to happen when someone is there, which is even less of an opportunity. If you're going to be shooting people, if all you do is walk up to a person and take a picture of them, like a street photographer would do, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not criticizing street photography, but if you just walk up and take a picture, boom, like that, well, anybody can do that if they have enough guts to do it. So hence, do you ever see that kind of work in commercial land where it's going to be sold for, you know, to use to sell products or whatever? In commercial land, no. In fine art land, yeah. But in fine art land, all of this is fair because none of this matters in fine art. Fine art depends on a different set of structures. So in reality, this is where we want to be. We want to be a stuff people occasionally do and stuff that's harder to do. In other words, production values. Do you need a strobe to make that person light up a little bit? If you do, use it. Do you need natural light? By the way, for those of you who do not know, natural light doesn't mean you can't modify the light. Natural light can be modified thousands of ways. Natural light can also mean you have 3 whiteboards, 2 shiny reflectors, a gold reflector, and a mirror, all on that natural light shot. Natural light just means we're not using artificial light. We're not bringing in strobes or LEDs or anything. So natural light doesn't mean you don't work with the light, try to make it best. we can recover shadow detail, but we never recover shadow detail in Lightroom or Photoshop that's going to render the same as if we got it right in camera. So instead of looking for the easy way out, we look for the best possible solution. The best possible solution. We take the strobes out. We get the C-stand. I don't know if you all remember a website called Strobist from a couple of dozen years, maybe a dozen years ago. Strobist was very popular and had a really wonderful guy led it. And he was all about using small strobes. Well, for a while there, it developed into I can use small strobes because I'm smarter, they're lighter, and I don't have to carry around hard strobes. And I used to argue with people kindly and gently in the way that only I can. That photography isn't really about being easy. It's about getting the best shot. And no, your little Nikon Speedlight is not going to deliver the same kind of light that a White Lightning 1600 will, or a Profoto B200 will. It's just not the same light. It can do a nice job with what it's set up to do, but it's not an end all be all. And so, yeah, sometimes you have to carry heavy gear. I think you can do a lot with speed lights. I don't think you can do it all with speed lights. Just like I think you can do a lot with big studio lights, but I don't think you can do everything with big studio lights. I think there's the magic word is what is appropriate, what works for your vision. Vision is what all of this is about. This is about taking pictures. Taking pictures is stuff that only some people do and crap everyone does. Where do gearheads come into it? Gearheads stop right about, well, let's say this. Let's gearheads stop right about there, because this is where gearheads live. They're all about the gear. That's, the shot doesn't matter. It's what did they take it with. Now, there doesn't mean that there aren't some gearheads up here, but I would bet you that their gearheadedness is based on what they really need to make those shots.
You should
It's
change
not
that to the
just-
Leica the shooters did. Don.
What's that?
The Leica shooters.
Well, you know, I don't want to cast disparaging on, you know, any one brand or something, but, you know, Sony. Anyway, I wanted to just simply, what? Did I say that out loud? I feel bad now. Now I'm crushed. I just want to point out that there are, Mike, the kind of guys you're talking about, the quote Leica shooters, right?
Yeah.
Who are way up here.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's because they work for
ton of
National
them.
Geographic.
There's a ton of them that are down here.
Yeah.
They just, you know, it's I remember a photographer in my studio saying he really, really hated his 1DX Mark II, I think. Is 1DS Mark II? Is that the Canon?
Yeah, that's the
1DS?
Canon
Okay.
flagship.
So it was like, at the time, it was brand new, state of the art. It just didn't make good photographs. So he was going to trade it in for a Hasselblad because then he could get good photos. The problem was the guy sucked at photography. It wouldn't have made any difference what camera he owned. All it would, you know, he made really shitty pictures with a Rebel. He made really shitty pictures with a 1DS, and he's probably out there making really shitty pictures with his Hasselblad because he had, this was his mentality. He would just simply take a picture, no thought at all to what that picture was for, what he wanted to do with it, how it fit into his portfolio. I don't think the guy had a portfolio, he had a collection of images, but they were all very sharp. I do remember that sharpness was a big issue. Well, a crappy picture that's sharp is still first and foremost a crappy picture. A bad picture that's sharp is still a bad picture. A good picture that's sharp may be still a good picture, but it also may not be the best picture. If you've not seen the monks of, I believe it's the monks of Sri Lanka, I believe, by Richard Gere, go and check them out. Check them out. Find a sharp one. Not possible. Richard shot in the dark. Richard Gere is the actor I'm talking about. Very good photographer, by the way. Just because he's an actor doesn't mean he sucks at photography. He's pretty darn good at it. But he was trying to catch the mood, and they're all long exposures, 2-second exposures, 1-second exposures under very dim light, black and white. There's no sharpness. Are they great photographs? Yeah, they're great photographs. I love them. Check out Matt Mahurin. Not sharp. Sharpness isn't the point of a Matt Mahurin photograph. It's to pull out an emotion from you. He's up here, as a matter of fact, in the really rare world. How many professional photographers do you know who only have 3 pieces of gear, 2 of which are $39 plastic Diana cameras? I'll give you a moment there. That's right. Pretty much nobody. If you've seen the video to Sound of Silence by Disturbed, you've seen Matt Mahurin's work. He's the director. The visuals in there look just like his stills. So he's pretty unique. The questions that we ask then are paramount. Would anybody make this photograph? Could anybody make this photograph? The next one we ask ourselves is, what am I bringing to this subject matter? Why am I shooting this picture? What do I want to say with it? We have Sophie and Carmen here. Both are wonderful portrait photographers from France. Carmen is it Sophie or Carmen? I'm forgetting who's shooting the lady that shows up. That's Carmen, right? That shows up at your studio all the time, Carmen?
That's Carmen.
Yeah. And when you look at them, they're not stuff that everybody does. They're really clever. This woman apparently shows up every day at Carmen's studio, dressed up.
Almost every day.
Almost every day, dressed up real funky. She's really kind of a, very iconoclastic, free spirit. And Carmen takes her photograph. And they're beautiful.
Thank you. I'm really happy to hear this whole thing about the sharpness, because I had someone very close to me would look at my images and would say, they're not sharp. I'm like, but they convey a feeling.
But
they're not sharp.
The correct response, Carmen, is,
Yes.
I don't give a damn.
Well, now I can say that
Yes.
because of what you just said.
Yes. I can remember, I love some of my old war stories because they make me realize what a jerk I was. But anyway,
I'm glad that you also acknowledge that.
I take full ownership.
I'm really
of
great.
jerkdom. Oh yeah, absolutely. The time I made that kid from Ohio who worked at Safeway bite into a yellow hot, probably the peak jerkdom. He had to go to the hospital actually, and I kind of felt bad for a while. I got over it. I hate newbies, but anyway, I was shooting for Fiesta Mall, and the young lady was in a polka dot dress, and she had balloons, and she was jumping from a doorway, and I was to catch her in mid jump with the balloons up, and I was shooting at f4, so I want that background very, very soft. And I was shooting at f4, and I realized after I got the film back that I probably should have been shooting at 5.6, because about 2/3 of the shots were just a little behind or a little in front. This, by the way, with a brand new EOS 1 camera. I literally had shot about 5 test shoots with models before this job with my brand new Canon EOS. And I did not realize this 200mm lens was going to do what it did with there. So as I delivered the images to they weren't like soft. They weren't, like holy crap out of focus. They just weren't as tack as I wanted them to be. And I delivered it to the art director at Fiesta Mall, and she was looking at 6 8x10s that I delivered, black and white. And she said, well, they look a little soft. And I said, yeah, it's cool, huh? To which she responded, yeah, they are kind of cool. Yeah, exactly the way I wanted them. Do you know how hard it is to just miss focus by that much? Do you have any idea the skill that went into making those pictures just a tiny bit soft? No, of course you don't. You're just the art director. I am the photographer. Anyway.
Salesman mode kicks in.
Yeah, it was salesman mode. It's also pure freaking panic. That always helps, you know.
If you can't dazzle with brilliance, baffle them with.
Absolutely. I mean, in commercial photography, you will learn quickly. In any freelance world, you'll learn quickly that there are some things that motivate people. I mean, we all know about the regular ones. There's sex, money, and power. Those are the three big motivators of getting people off their ass and doing things. Number 4, which I think sometimes should be number 1, is called sheer terror. Sheer freaking terror. You got a wife at home and a kid, and there's braces to be paid for, and your rent's coming up, and you've got 2 employees, and you go over and check the balance on your checkbook, and you go, these 2 numbers don't coincide in a very positive manner for me. Terror sets in, and by God, by the end of the week, you got another job. Trust me, works. Everything I teach about marketing is because I've been there. Everyone. So I don't want anybody to think when they look at my marketing stuff, wow, he was brilliant. He was really on top of things, man. He never had a slow day in his life. Yeah, you have no idea. None. There were some pretty lean times. So stuff that people occasionally do. This is where luck enters into it. A little, maybe more than stuff that's harder to do. Stuff that's harder to do is pulling out those C-stands, pulling out those lights, getting the white cards, talking your neighbor into coming along with you to hold that shiny board because you know you're going to need it. That's harder to do. Stuff that occasionally gets done is when luck is on your side. It's that storm on the Horseshoe Bend, which takes your Horseshoe Bend picture, of which there are 58 zillion of them, and moves it into a very rare world of, yeah, but there's only maybe 1,000 of them with a storm and lightning coming on, so that's moved up here. Now, if you had it and it was snowing there, you'd probably move up into another category of rare. It's just really rare. I saw photographs in a gallery in New Orleans, and the photographer had taken his view camera, his big 8x10 camera, out on the streets of what's it called, square, something, New Orleans Square, I guess is that what it's, Orleans Square? Don't know. But the big place where all the old shops are and the bars and restaurants, it had snowed 8 inches the night before. He went to the studio at 3 in the morning and got up, and as the sun came up, and all it did was warm up the clouds because it was still snowing, he shot New Orleans Square in the snow. In the snow. So rare, because it doesn't snow on the coast of New Orleans very often, folks. It doesn't snow on the coast very often, period. But they had a good 6 inches. And to see those pictures in those quiet streets, because the people in New Orleans were terrified to go outside. They'd never seen this before. So they sheltered in place until the shock of seeing snow. Anyway, I'm kidding. There were no footprints, nothing in it. He had 12 pictures in a portfolio. And if I was wealthy enough to have an extra $5,000, I would have bought it. It was that beautiful. That's the stuff that's really rare. That's the really rare. But you got to get through this one and get through this one to get here. Do you see what I'm saying? You got to get through those. So if you're in really rare, it's already stuff people occasionally do, and it's already stuff that's harder to do. These don't even count because we're not interested in them. So they compound on each other. How do you do this? I guess you get ready. I guess at some point in the middle of the night, something must have struck him and said, wow, that could be pretty cool for me to go photograph. So I'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go get my camera ready and be there 2.5 hours in the freezing cold in the snow in order to get these photographs. He only had the little story there that was in the window. He only had about 2 hours to get the shots done, and then people started coming out, and there were car tracks and stuff like that, which, by the way, were also pretty interesting. When it was only a few car tracks, he got a couple of shots of that too, all on this big camera. So he's on a big camera. That's really rare. He's shooting film. That's really rare. Of something that very rarely happens, that's really rare. And so you get up there. Now, how do we do that in commercial photography? Well, we put together the right props at the right time. We have the right composition. Everything works for us. And we're going to end up, when everything works out, we're going to end up somewhere in, let me get rid of all that stuff. I don't know if you can hear my granddaughter, but she's been awake since 6 o'clock this morning, will not go to sleep. And I may have to bail off of this and call the suicide hotline for my wife here shortly, because she's anyway. If you do that, you're going to be way up in here. You may be in the really rare. You're going to be in the stuff people occasionally do, but you're going to be up here because of the excellence in what you do. Excellent photography is rare. Good photography is not. There are lots and lots of good photographers. You can go up onto the workbook and whatever, and you can find tons of good photographers. My question is, how many times when you do that, do you find a photograph that just stands out so far above the rest that you realize that's an exceptional photograph? We've all seen them. We've all seen really good photographers who have portfolios. They go, oh my God, that's a great portfolio. And you close it. Do you remember any of the shots? I seldom do. I seldom remember anything, from most portfolios. But sometimes I'll close a portfolio and that picture will just haunt me, just absolutely haunt me. My friend Doug Adams has a picture on his website of a redheaded woman that it's a portrait that I just absolutely love. I would print that and stick it on my wall. Interestingly enough, he's not that fond of it. I think it's so good that it's absolutely rare. It's incredible. There's everything about it is incredible. I think that one of our photographers, Sam Breach, did a shot for the chocolate assignment. I think 2 years, maybe 3 years ago. I think that is such an amazing photograph. I can't get it out of my mind. I always will remember that photograph. And all of my students have taken a photograph that I remember. But sometimes, especially I'll say this is one of those things that Mike's going to laugh because he knows it's kind of rude and snarky, and I don't mean it that way, but especially with the, quote, lifestyle photographers. You can't tell one smiling girl in yellow shorts jumping on her moped from the next smiling girl in pink shorts jumping on her moped, and on and on and on. It's just, after a while, it's like, okay, got it. I can't do it. But there are some photographers, when you go and you look at their work, you never forget it. I think Finn Beals is one of those photographers. I can't stop forgetting about his photograph. You guys want to see who I'm talking about, Finn Beals? Yeah? I can do that because I got him on the internet. I got the internet. It's awesome. Let me pull it down here.
I think I beat you to it. There's a link, Don.
I took a-
Made by Finn.com.
I
Oh,
took a
yeah.
storytelling class from him.
What's
Oh,
that?
yeah?
I took a storytelling workshop that he has on a website from him. It's really good.
You enjoyed it, huh?
I'm still finishing it, but
Ah.
yeah, it's really good.
Is it on Creative Live?
No, it's
No, it
through
is.
a thing called Stroll Works. I think it's STROHL Works. And there's different photographers with different workshops, but Finn Beals is one of them.
Yeah, it's Alex Stroll is the photographer who's created it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay.
I don't think I'm spelling it correctly.
What, Alex Stroll?
Yeah, for the Stroll Works.
Oh, just it's over here. It says workshop on Finn Beals.
Oh,
Here, workshop.
well.
So
Nobody said I was smart, Don.
when I go into his, and then I apologize for my damn internet connection. It has just really been rough. And I look at this particular set of images. Let me get over here and get it hooked up. With this particular set of images, they knock me out. I absolutely love these images. I love the story it tells. It's obvious two guys are supposed to meet up. One guy gets lost. You know, it's like he's turning around. He's checking his map. I mean, he's really telling a story here all the way through. Finally, I think he runs out of gas or something, and he meets his buddy, who's shooting a Hasselblad.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
there we go. Finally meet up, you know. And always the watch. This is shot for Breitling for the watch.
I was going to say, I thought it had a familiar feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are just, to me, is an incredible thing. Now, this was all shot in a day. This is all shot in a day. And it's all shot with natural light. Or at least it's shot to look like natural light. Now, Finn Beals is an experienced photographer. If he's shooting natural light, it's by choice. It's not because he, quote, doesn't know how to use strobes or any of that Facebook crap. He knows how to use strobes. He's making a choice. But I just love the overcast skies and the whole bit. I love it. I think it's very special. Other people may not, and that's okay. But I think it's pretty special. And I think the production quality of his work is so strong in here. The clothing, the styling, the place where they're shooting. It didn't go, it didn't just find somewhere to shoot. This is all planned well in advance. I bet he scouted it in the whole bit. So I'm just, this is the kind of work that I remember. But there are other photographers, gifted photographers, that I will go and look at their portfolio and realize how strong they are. But if you ask me to remember a specific shot or something, I can't. That's possibly because it didn't resonate with me. I used to look at fashion all the time. For 20 years of my life, we'd go to the store. My wife would buy Sports Illustrated and I'd buy Vogue. My wife is very much interested in sports, and she'd go through Sports Illustrated. I'd be going through Vogue and Harper's Bazaar, looking at fashion, and ended up being, I was a fashion photographer, but I ended up knowing more about fashion than I ever thought I would. Who the designers were, who was shooting for who the models were, and all that stuff. And I don't do that anymore. I probably can't imagine anything I care less about than fashion. So if you're going to be remembered, you're going to have to be up in here. The OMG shots, those are the ones that, boy, everything just came into play there. Have you guys seen Davina with the elephants? Nobody? Here we go. Oops, clear.
You should always assume that we haven't seen it, Don, just so you can show us.
I know. Sometimes I'm shocked by how much you guys haven't seen.
It's a big world.
It's called Davina and the Elephants. I just wish my computer is, I mean, it's just, everything is running so slow today.
Vima. Oh, okay. Oh.
Dovima and the Elephants. Here we go.
Oh, Avedon.
Here we go. The images here. And share. You know, think about how hard it would be to get a bunch of elephants to line up.
Right.
Think about how hard it would be to get a model who would be comfortable standing over by those things that could literally kill her. Right? And then to get this shot. That's an amazing photograph. I would love to own this photograph. I can't afford that photograph, but I wish I could own it. And think of this, it was photographed on a large format camera. It wasn't a 35. If it's not 8x10, it's at least 4x5.
The nice thing is too, is they didn't crop it. You can see the ears on the top there.
Yes. So we can get a bigger one here. The other shot of Davima is amazing as well. The trainer got the elephant to lift its foot just as Davima pulled her hand up. Oops, sorry, it's not big enough here. I'll click on it. Does it go bigger? Oh, it does. There we go. Just as she pulled her hand up, he picked his foot up. Both of them did. And you end up with this remarkable photograph. Now, the other interesting thing about this photograph is that it was just an editorial shoot for Vogue.
Wow.
Just another day at the office kind of shoot. Ran in an issue, moved on. Just the kind of editorial that photographers are doing every day, even today. They're out doing editorial. That's all it was. It wasn't a big ad shot for Dior. It was actually an editorial shot featuring the Dior gowns. This is where we want to get. Well, not necessarily the elephant part, but as rare as we possibly can get. It's why the top names in mountain climbing photography are used to hiking in the dark. Because most of us, I'm down here. I'm not going to go hike up Half Dome in the dark to get a photograph of the sun coming up at a very specific position in the mountains that lights up a specific peak somewhere else in the really rare. So I'm never going to get there in landscape photography because I'm not a landscape photographer. Even though I enjoy shooting the environment, I'm not a landscape wilderness photographer. I leave that for people who want to get up there and do that. The oh my God stuff happens now and then, and we should all look for it. But it's, again, you got to get through all of these to get there. That's what I call the hierarchy of impact. If we want to make impact, we have to do stuff that's beyond what everybody else does. Stuff that's harder to do will have more impact. Even if that stuff that's really hard to do ends up on the computer. I don't know if you guys know the name Tim Tatter. Tim Tatter is a brilliant photographer who does a lot of his work on the computer. Same with Eric Almos. Come on, Tim. I heard that the internet was under attack, but I also heard today that that's not the case. AT&T is saying no, we're not under attack.
By who? China?
I have no idea. I really don't.
Yeah, I found out right. It's been said that what it was, and I looked on my phone. If you look under your Google settings, you now have a coronavirus tracker on your phone.
Well, this is Tim Tatter's work, and if you go into his portfolios, you'll find a lot of his stuff is. I clicked on portfolios, didn't I? Like this. A tremendous amount of Photoshop work. He uses his camera to get all the stuff and then puts it together. Eric Almos is another one. Did I spell it wrong? I must have. Yeah. Another photographer who, and again, this is what makes his work so spectacular. He's way up in the rare and the stuff that few people will ever do because they won't spend the time or the money or the energy to learn it. I was listening to an interesting podcast today. I don't know, have you, I know my friend Stephanie listens to Altushare. Stephanie, have you heard the new one?
Not yet.
Okay. He's talking to a guy who is a coach for, well, there we go, a coach for CEOs and stuff. And it struck me that, I mean, look at this work. Look at this photograph, for instance. There's a tremendous amount of Photoshop in that photograph, as well as a tremendous amount of just really good photography put together. But Altushare is talking to a guy who's a coaching company, and they work with CEOs of all these big companies. And we all think, well, why would a CEO need a coach? He said 80% of them have coaches. Mark Zuckerberg has a coach. The guy at Google, the two guys at Google have coaches. Everybody has a coach. And yet when you talk to photographers, like, now I'm doing it on my own. I'll edit my own work. I'll coach my own self. I'll learn how to do business by watching YouTube. But it's the photographer syndrome. Why not get a coach? Why would it hurt? I'm talking about spending money to make money. That's something that Mike just said. If you want your portfolio to really rock, don't do it yourself. I'm sorry. Don't do it yourself. And definitely do not go and find another photographer to help you with your portfolio, because they can't help you 9 times out of 10. You have to find somebody who's been in the business. And maybe if you got a photographer who's been in the business and doesn't feel threatened because, oh my God, are we frightened as a group? We fear everybody's going to take our client from us. We don't want to give away our Photoshop techniques and all that stuff. You find somebody who's been in the business for a while and can look at your book and not feel threatened or not see themselves in your book. And that's where photographers, it becomes hard to get to. As a photographer, we all struggle with different things. And as soon as they look at your picture, they're going to see that you have either achieved what they struggle with, or you're struggling with it too. They're seeing photographs where an art director looking at your book A, doesn't feel threatened by you, and B, they're looking at possibilities, solutions, and what you're delivering. They're looking at the presentation. That's different than another photographer looking at it. They're only looking at pictures. If you're a fashion photographer and you make the mistake of getting an architecture photographer to review your portfolio, I think you might want to throw out everything they said, because they don't even understand the world you're in, usually. So if you're gonna get to that point, if you're gonna get to this point here at the top, up here, you're gonna need help. Where you get that help will make all the difference in the world. But don't try to do it all by yourself. Find people, mentors, whatever. Project 52, you have a lot of people who've gone through the class before. If you're new to the class, ask for help. They'll give you help. Never take the shortcut. Ever. Ever take the shortcut. You will never get there. So another question to ask yourself is, am I doing everything I can to make this photograph special? If you stand there taking a photograph, you got to remember that most people on this planet, most people are between 5'1" and 6'2". That's the vast majority of people on this planet. We have shorter people, we have very tall people, but the vast majority is there, 5'2" to 6'2". So the vast, incredible 90+% of images on a planet is taken from 4'8" above the ground to 5'11" above the ground. We got to leave 4 heads in there. So that 1 foot is where the point of view of the camera is. You want to change your life in photography? Kneel down, lay on your belly like a reptile. Keep a stepladder in your car. Do what Ansel did. He bought that old truck. I don't know if you've ever seen Ansel's truck, and he had a platform built on the top with a ladder, so he could climb up and shoot from the top of the truck. What did that do? Well, it eliminated, if you've ever taken a shot from the side of the road, and folks, something to remember is all of Ansel's photographs were taken from the side of the road. Ansel didn't go backpacking off into Yosemite. Every shot you see from Ansel was taken from the side of the road. He was a fragile guy. He had a bad hip. He wasn't able to go off hiking stuff. So they're taken from the side of the road. When you're on the side of the road taking a picture, Mike, you got your view camera set up, buddy. You're right on the side of the road. And when you look through the view camera, what do you see in the foreground?
Fuzzy grass.
Or all the crap that people have thrown out of their damn car.
Yeah.
Beer cans, pieces of paper. You get up on the roof and you shoot, your foreground is 40 feet away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And cleaner.
Yeah, if you're low, you can't stop it down far enough that your foreground is in focus.
Exactly. The closer you are to the foreground, the more out of focus you're going to be.
Yeah.
And so Ansel got up high. You want to change your photography, change your angle. I really, really enjoy looking at, oh, darn it. He's a friend of Still Life guy in New York. Damn it. What's his name? I just lost it.
One of the Project 52ers?
Well, he's a friend of Project 52. He's
the Hasidic Jew?
yeah.
Oh,
Yakale.
Yeah, Yakil. I love looking at Yakil's work because he approaches a beer and he'll shoot up at it or he'll shoot down on it. You know, not in a lay flat sort of way, but in a really cool way with a wide angle lens and really create something different. You know, he's just shooting a 6-pack of soda with the damn plastic thing on it. And you know, how many of those have we, a bazillion of them, and yet Yakil can take it and make a shot and you kind of go, oh, that's pretty cool. You look at it again. Why? Because he changed his angle. Change your angle. Change the lens that you're expected to use to a lens that you may not be expected to use. We all know in Project 52 that still life and food, our friend is the 50 millimeter. Normal lens is generally our friend. What happens when you come in with a 17? What happens when you start shooting food with a 200? I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you should explore what happens. What changes? How can you make it different? We all love close-ups, macro photography. A picture of a cupcake is cool, and then somebody comes in right in the side with a 100 millimeter macro, and you get the icing and those little lines of the cupcake holder coming down, and that's all that's in the frame. And you go, "Holy shit, that's really cool!" Because we don't usually hold the cupcakes up this close to our eye and go in and look at. We don't do. I do. But then that's just me. It's my cupcake fetish. But most people don't do that. They don't look at it that close. We're showing them something they've seen before in a way they've never seen it before. Is it easy to do, to get up here? Is it easy to get here? I won't say it's easy, but it's doable. It's really doable to get here. Take your gear, think about it, lay down on the ground, get up on the top of your car, stand on a step ladder, hang from a tree, whatever. Stuff, if it's a little bit harder to do, you're going to clear the masses. Here is 90% of the world. All of the rest of this is in 10%. That's the bald-faced truth of it. If it's a little harder to do, you're gonna change it up right there. Stuff people occasionally do. These are the rare people. Can you get there? Of course, make a decision. Really rare, we're gonna have some luck involved. Oh my God, we're gonna have all of this plus a tremendous amount of luck.
You're almost done.
Yes, I am. Go out and shut my door. Yep, go out and shut my door.
We have a newborn sister now, a little trainee girl,
Really? Okay, bye.
and
Go now, please.
her crying baby.
Crying baby, yes.
5.
We've had a crying baby here since
When I was actual,
10 o'clock this morning. So one thing about being a grandparent, all of a sudden it all comes back to you. Anyway, that's my little presentation on the hierarchy of impact. I hope you got something from it.
I'm gonna here for 1 minute.
I hope you got something from it. I hope you take something from this and back to your own work. Any questions or comments? I have time. If you don't have any
Interesting.
questions or comments, I'm going to have to go hold the baby. So let me ask again. Questions or make some shit up if you have to.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I have found that once you try to get in the upper part, the mind of the trying, and you can get in overthinking mode to and I think if you just get in and do it and allow yourself to do the stupid stuff or the not allowed stuff, just to experiment.
Yeah, think about the stuff where you are. That the pictures you did of the Movember, right?
Yeah.
Right. You're way up here. Just from the fact that you had to corral people with mustaches to come, and then you shot them all in that sort of same thing, and then the artists that you did, where you constructed a way of working, a set that you would take with you, build it in their place. You're way up here, Sophie. You're not down here.
I'm fine either way. I mean, it's great to know that I'm above, but I think what helps me in these moments is just to do the stuff anyway, because if you let the mind think too much, I don't mean getting your stuff ready, getting your technical stuff ready, that's
Right.
different. But if you, past a certain point, if you start overthinking it, you freeze. You've got to get to a point where you just go and do the stuff, even if it's failure, because otherwise you can get too hung up in the, is this really different? Is this gonna, you know?
Well, that
Absolutely
comes
right.
down, now that's a little bit different
Thank
of
you,
a
Sophie.
thing, Sophie. I would say to you, just remember, be authentic.
Yeah.
I don't worry about any of the people on this broadcast. I know your authenticism. Be authentic. If you're doing it to manipulate the system, if you think, well, if I take that stuff out there, I'll look better than so-and-so. No. You take it out because it's part of what you do. You increase your production value for whatever you do because you simply want to do that. It becomes a part of your process to do it the best you can.
There's such a balance between doing the best you can and overthinking it to death.
I
and
agree.
freezing.
Yes, that's right. I was agreeing with Sophie, where you get into your head and you want it to be unusual, but it just looks like crap, I mean,
Well,
at least that's what happens to me.
Yeah,
that
that's a different thing, and I think the point is that you can try a lot of stuff. That's not to say that you're in here, that stuff only some people do. What you're doing is you're struggling with doing this. And there is absolutely no guarantee that your shit's going to come out good. But there's a guarantee that if you stay down here, it won't. The guarantee up here is the more you try, the better it will be. And you just keep moving up. That the pictures that you're shooting of that lady, that's going to be an incredible set of photographs. It just really is. And that's what I call a collaboration, because you're not dressing her, she's bringing the outfit. So you're actually photographing a creative person being creative in their own way. It's cool.
I literally struggle with panic though, like that panic feeling when you're going to do something new. That tends to be a bit, I don't know if it's anxiety or panic, but it's like, you go to do a job and you just have like this sensation in your chest. you know?
Yeah.
So, and that's really what kind of hinders me a lot of the time.
You know when that goes away?
When you do it?
Never.
I was saying, it's kind of funny she says that, because I was thinking the same thing. I was telling Sophie earlier about a project I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm getting started and pre-visualizing and going to shoot my son and see if I can get the look and so on and so forth. And I want to shoot bikers. I'm a biker, I like bikers. So let's shoot the people I know. I'm scared to death to ask them,
Yeah.
And these are people I know, it's not like a total stranger. And normally I'm not afraid to talk to anybody about anything, but to ask somebody to let me take their picture.
Part of that fear, Mike, is that you know them. So if you fuck it up, then they're going to go,
yeah.
Hey, thanks for wasting my time, Mike. Right?
Well, the nice thing is if I fuck it up, I know them well enough. I go, it's because you're ugly.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's that. Michelle, when you're out shooting, if you ever get to a point where it's not tightening your chest, it's either going to be another drop and pop. So let's all face it, shooting cans of peas on white paper, we're probably not getting all tense about that. We're kind of going, yeah, we can do that. But if you're asked to do anything creative and you're not feeling it, then you're not bringing it. James Altucher is a writer, and one of his things about writing is he always wants to feel a little bit of fear before he hits that send button. He says, if I can hit that send button and I'm not worried about what the editor or what my readers are going to say, if I don't have a little bit of panic in it, he says, I haven't done anything. I've just done this. Crap everyone does. If you want to, this is pop music. You can like pop, if you like pop music. I'm not putting down pop music, but this is crap everyone does. When's the last time you heard a pop string quartet or a pop, you know, I mean, when I say pop, I mean pop music like rock and roll. It's all the same crap over and over and over and over and over and over again. You've seen the video of all the songs with the same 4 chords, right? If you haven't, do a search
Oh,
on YouTube.
yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
Right.
I've seen-
So that's down here. This is a little bit harder to do. This is a little bit harder to do. This is maybe modern music or writing for a film score or something like that. All of this stuff. So it's okay when we're down here, you know, if you're asked to do a Christmas party for your mom and something, to bring out, Michelle, bring your camera so you can get some shots of the kids opening gifts. I don't think you're going to go, okay, but I'm going to need some help for people to bring in all my C-stands and my pro photos, and I'm going to have to light this up and hang a scrim over you. It's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
And you don't get all chest tightened. But if you're going to do something, anything up here, we're going to be pushing the envelope a little bit, or at least trying to, right? At least trying to.
I think it raises the risk of failure when you push that hard, and it reduces the amount of people that possibly would like it. You know, when you try things that are kind of avant-garde or something,
Nobody fails here.
You're narrowing your audience as to who's gonna strike a chord or not.
Nobody
kinda
fails.
have to-
Nobody fails here. This is
Embrace, you know, fail forward. Just you
Yes.
have to fall back on being an artist and being authentic and not worrying about what everyone thinks.
I
And you're
think
gonna
that's
have
probably-
zero outtakes, 0% of outtakes here. And up here, that's 99% of outtakes. Only 1% of all the shots you ever take are going to end up here. This is like there's no filter on it at all. We got to be up here, you know, in the 10% range of good.
Oh, didn't Edward Weston shoot like 30 different bell peppers? And it's only the
Yes.
one that people remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he ended up with, if I remember right, I think he's got 4 in that series.
It's
He
bell
shot
pepper
shot
16.
something
I
like
think.
45 or 50 of them. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a crap ton. And
Yeah.
when you look at the work of some, you know, great fashion photographers, and you see these great shots, you got to remember sometimes these guys are barreling through film. I barreled through film. I had 2 camera bodies because I'd be done shooting this roll of film by the time that camera was loaded by my assistant. I'd go through a roll of film in the time it takes to load a camera, because I always had my models moving. I didn't do well, I don't want to say always, but my style was to get them moving. I want that dress swirling. I want that hair moving, and you got to take a lot of shots to get it. So I'm not
I think what
signaling
brings me-
anybody. There's a fly in here. This is not like hand signals.
I think, Stephanie, I think you nailed it really quickly. Is that I think if I were honest, beyond the fear you feel in your chest, is that where you were talking about pressing on and doing the art, and I think it's that fear of not being liked or accepted, or it's like that artist part, but because our culture is all about everybody liking everything you do. And so, when you step outside of that, or when
Yep.
you're more authentic and stuff, then that's where it's scary, because, it's partly your living too, or you're trying
is.
to,
It is.
connect with more people. But I think, Stephanie, what you said about,
I want you to look at 2 books, Michelle. Book number 1 is An Audience of One
Yeah, that's good.
by Srinivas
Oh, Srini Rao.
Srini Rao.
Just the
Right.
unmistakable creative.
Yeah, The
is his,
Unmistakable Creative,
podcast.
An
Yeah.
Audience
Yeah, I
of
just
One.
finished that book. I just finished that, and it was really like uplifting.
I joined his club today.
Okay.
The group. It was only $200 for the year, and I have access to all his training materials and everything. So if you're interested, go up now because it closes tomorrow. They won't be offering it again. And the last time he offered it was like $900. So I just said, what the hell? The first time I read an article by him, Srinivas Rao, I knew I liked that guy. He just really connected with me. And I bought a course from him today. So that one and The Power of Unpopular. The Power of Unpopular by Erica Napolitano. And the thing is, Michelle, you don't want everybody to like your stuff. Because the stuff that everybody likes is this stuff. Kitty pictures,
And you don't,
sunsets, and all that.
Natural
And you
light
don't-
food.
you don't want to get in that thing of worrying about shooting what you think people want to shoot anyways. When you're building your portfolio and stuff, he always says shoot what you want to shoot
Yeah.
in the way that you want to shoot it.
And there's a certain amount of fear and Michelle is a shooter. She's a pro. There's a certain amount of fear when you become a pro. It's like, okay, I worked so hard to get up onto this rung. I don't want to fall off. I only want to go up. So I don't want to screw up and have people go, oh, Michelle, she used to be pretty good now. Yeah.
Thank you.
What
I
happened?
don't think of myself as a pro, but I appreciate that.
But we always want to move forward. And when we fail at something, we do wrongly feel bad. I think you should feel good because you moved up here and tried something. These people don't even try.
True.
You'll learn more from your mistakes than you will from your wins. You'll be more, every time you screw up, and I see it in Project 52 all the time. I see it all the time. When we first start Project 52, we do tabletop and we have a problem with horizons. People put their shit too far forward on the table and the horizon of the table is like way up in the back of the picture. And you say, no, we got to bring it down. Boom. Six sessions later, horizons are where they're supposed to be. Everybody's concentrating on the horizons. They got it. We talk about tangents. Halfway through the course, we're not seeing that many tangents anymore. You build it up. You build it up by making the mistakes. If I tried to teach you how to photograph something by standing over, let's say Carmen was shooting and I'm there in her studio and she says, oh, and I go, no, got to move that. Okay, all right. No, bring that light in. I can tell her and she'll click the picture at the end and she'll go, oh, that looks really nice. She learned nothing. She learned nothing because I did it for her. I did everything but push the button. That's not how I teach. When I teach, I want to put a bunch of stuff in front of you and have you discover it on your own by making mistakes, making some wins and all this stuff. And then pretty soon all the chaff has gone away. And now you're dealing with all the gold. The dirt gets pushed away and you're standing there with gold. And now, instead of talking about this stuff down here, when we're doing critiques, we're talking about this stuff up here. And we're occasionally getting into stuff up here. Already. So it takes effort, and anything that takes effort will move you from these two down here up if you just apply effort. Cool.
The other thing that's been good for me, even today I had a shoot and, you want everything to be, as you're shooting that it's just going to be great. And I keep thinking about when you say you like looking at a professional's contact sheet where there's like a bunch of crap everywhere and then you have that golden nugget. And then I keep focusing on there's a golden nugget here somewhere, not just every time
Yeah, not every time. You gotta keep
I'm hitting the shutter. And I know better, but you still want everything.
Oh, of course.
Now that with
you want every
digital,
shot, you still try to make every shot right. But in the back of your mind, you got to know that I'll get it. I know I'll get something. And you always do. You always do. What's that old saying? If you have a 12 roll, 12 exposure roll, you'll get one good shot. If you have a 24 exposure roll, you get one good shot. If you have a 36 exposure roll, you still get one good shot. That's just the way it is. I remember about 10 years ago, Chase Jarvis, a photographer up in Seattle, Chase did something that a lot of photographers would never do. And that is well, for one thing, he went out and shot a whole brand new portfolio in 1 month. He spent $35,000 producing this new body of work. He hired actors, he had kung fu artists, he had props and everything. Spent $35K on this, shot it all on a Hasselblad. And then he took every single image that he shot and made a video of it, and would stop when he got to the shot where that's the one he blew up, and then it would stop and blow it up with all the Photoshop to it, right? And he's a wonderful photographer, really, really good photographer. You should have seen all the shit he did. Stuff that you're looking at going, why would he do that? That's terrible. And now it's going by really fast, you know, flip, 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 flip. But just stuff that you look at and go, wow, that didn't work. That didn't work. And all of a sudden you can see it, boom, boom, and there it is. It worked. There's no reason why any of us should expect anything less. I can't remember what the number of negatives that after Ansel passed away, all of his negatives were willed to the University of Arizona, the photo place down there, with the strict admonition and rule that any photo student could take any negative out and print it. He was absolutely livid. He did not want them to take his negatives and then put them somewhere where they would be in the archive. And you want to go print Moonrise Hernandez, you can go check it out and print it.
Wow.
Right? Now, in many cases of some of his more absolute famous works like Moonrise, you're getting a copy neg, but it's a really good copy neg. That was his thing. But the amazing thing is the students are going, well, you know, we all know the 450 amazing photographs or 500 that we all know as Ansel Adams. There's 11,000 frickin' negatives there. There's all kinds of stuff he never printed. And some of it's just damn good. And some of it's awful. You got to cut through the awful to get to the damn good. And it's okay to do that. All right. Anything else? Anybody?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you were talking about Yukio. I've been looking at a lot of his website here lately because his work's so good. And then I was going through and on his I think it's About Me page or whatever, he references the interview that you did with him a few years ago.
Mhm.
And I watched that. I thought it was really cool to see where he was 3 years ago and then where he's at now. So
Yeah.
his work's awesome, and then it was inspiring because it's like, you know, seeing his progress and where he's at now. It's like, you know,
Well, he's
kind of gives you a
he's a real hard worker, and he's got a work ethic that, you know, can't be beat. He knows what's important. He knows what he has to get done, and he gets it done.
yeah.
And I think the world of him. I really do. I think he's a hell of a guy, hell of a photographer. I use him as when I'm doing one-on-one coaching. I use him as someone that I will tell my students, if you want to see a pure commercial photographer, he is about as pure a commercial photographer as you're going to find. He's not trying to be an artist. He's not trying to be a frou-frou or anything. He shoots pure commercial photography, and he does it so well. It's absolutely brilliant.
What was his name again?
Yechiel Orgel, Yechiel is his first name, and his last name is Orgel, O-R-G-E-L. Yakil Orgel.
Is he in Project 52?
He's a member of my board of directors, actually, and we haven't met in a year or two. But no, he's never taken Project 52, but he's familiar with.
Is he in the page? It's like if we Google, look for him on the Project 52 group. Would we find him?
Probably, but I think if you just go yakilorgel.com, you'll find him. I think that's his website. Let me double check here.
I've just posted it in the comments.
Yeah, it's just yakilorgel.com. YECHIELORGEL.com. And the name of his website is, who knows?
Yakil Orgel.
No, the name of his website. That's his URL. The name of his website is New York Still Life Photography Product Food and Beverage Photographer. Because Yakil's number, and you remember that from the interview, Mark, his only form of advertising is SEO.
Yep.
Well,
he's in a big enough market, you can absolutely get away with that.
Well, if, you know, he spends a little money. You got to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
That's why I always say you got to, you know, if you've never had a one-on-one coach, get a one-on-one coach. I don't care what you do it, get a one-on-one coach. It's money well spent. If you want to build your website up fast, bite the bullet, hire a good SEO firm, a good one, and have them go in there. It may cost you $200 a month on a year contract. It's $2,400. That's not anything to sneeze at all. It's a lot of money. However, if it's done well, holy crap, it's only a lousy $2,400. That's like 1 gig. That's like 1 gig. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to go out there and sometimes and just, you know, put it on the line. When I did Project 52 for the first time, when I changed up the pricing model the very first time, I ran $250 worth of ads on Facebook, and I signed up 2 people. And I'll spend $250 to make $2,000 all day long. Don't be afraid. Stephanie uses Google AdWords.
Yeah, and that was the call yesterday, was my Google ad. So I just did a quote yesterday from the Google ad.
Yeah. Yeah, Google AdWords work. Did you take a class in how to use Google AdWords or anything like that?
No, just read their online help stuff.
There's you know lynda.com, right? Lynda.com. Lynda.com has a really good course on Google AdWords. And she's only $29 a month. So you spend $29, you go in there, you learn the Google AdWords. Oh, and by the way, they also have a really good SEO class. So you can do both of them in a month, and then just, you know, it costs you $29 and you just quit. They'll let you actually put it on hold. Put it on hold. You know, I'm going to put this on hold for a while so you don't have to like sign up again.
I've been spending about $100 a month on the Google, which previous to the coronavirus, I was at least getting, it felt like a job a month from it. So it was way paying good. But then of course now I did drop it down a little, but I haven't, that was the first call, an actual RFQ since March.
Everybody should be using AdWords in my opinion. I mean, it's in digital paid advertising, it is the absolute lowest hanging fruit there is.
Uh-huh.
Facebook would be number 2. And the only reason why I say Facebook's number 2 is because to utilize Facebook well, you need to have a grasp of your demographic.
Yeah, and it's
whereas
also
Google.
It's also a walled garden.
What's that?
It's a walled garden.
Well, yeah, but
so the only people you can advertise to on Facebook are people who are on Facebook. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yep. Go to the pool?
Yeah.
Yep. Did you put water in it? Okay. We're going to go out to the pool. We have a lovely pool. It only takes 20 minutes to blow it up.
Everyone in Arizona has a pool, right?
We didn't. We had some really good friends who lost their baby to a pool. And so
Oh,
when we had kids, we just said, it's just not worth it. Just, they had the gate, they had the lock, they had everything. That baby got in there somehow. So 2 minutes. All right. Any
Another
other questions?
self-portrait. Another self-portrait.
Yes, whenever I
Thank you.
can. All right, everybody, I'll let you go. And thanks for coming out and hanging
Thank
out
you.
with me.
Thanks, Don.
I really,
you.
really appreciate it.
Hi,
Thank you so much. And we will see you all next Friday and do these every Friday and hopefully do more. So take care. See you then.
Have a
Bye.
good one.
Bye-bye.